planning and plan B, and sometimes I plan C at the ready, which is very true.
Yeah, we have Plan B, and we even had a Plan B for today, just because of we learned from last time. Lee, and I don't know if you realized this, but when you jumped in the show the last time, we had already been discussing off air. We're like, we're gonna do the show anyways. If he can't get on, and everybody's like, what are they gonna do the show on? And I'm like, guys, just follow my lead. We're just gonna roll. and we just, and
Yes,
we were
sir.
going, and then you ended up jumping back in, so we are good. But I think that's lesson learned. Like, and even sometimes we overlook this stuff as like always have a like John said a plan B, a plan C in case
Yeah.
catastrophe strikes. Now, if I go down, everybody goes down, so we're toast. It's hosed. There is no plan after that. But um, who knows? We might be able to work something out so that way that doesn't happen. So we'll see. What's the topic today? Jeremy Klusterman wants to know. Well, Lee has a bunch of questions, and he has a bunch of walkthroughs he's going to do with his studio. So this is the show that should have been 2 weeks ago, but we kind of improv that show. So it's going to be fun. And Lee, you work in the you're on the radio in the health industry, right?
Yes. Yeah. So my focus is, all total health right now.
So we're going to get into that, guys, as we get going. So I appreciate everybody coming in. And just so everybody knows, we are working on, and we're going to hopefully do this in January. A lot of people have emailed us and asked us, messaged us, Facebook, hey, how am I going to know what the shows are about like a month in advance? We want to get together a calendar that's going to be located where you'll be able to see who the guest is for the week, or if we don't have a guest, if it's just a topic we're going to cover. You'll be able to see that ahead of time to find out what shows are going to be of interest to you, so you can join that. So keep that in the back of your minds. Also, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be introducing a third weekly host besides ourselves that specializes in social media. So she'll be able to help us, and yes, it is a she. She'll be able to help us and help you guys know where things and how things should be done on social media, and how to better your brand on social media with the live video. So we're kind of excited about that, as this is beginning to pick up steam. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty stoked about it.
Me too. Yep. Constantly evolving.
Yes. Also, guys, I did a review. Some of you asked about that Logitech webcam. We did pick a winner. Sean picked a winner, and on social media, I just sent it out to that person today. So hopefully they come back and they've got some feedback. But go look on YouTube on my Tech Buzz channel. I don't know if we got it up anywhere on Telestream yet, but go check it out on there. You guys can see a comparison, because some people have asked, well, why do you have a $1,500 to $2,000 camera when you could buy a $100 webcam? I demonstrate in that why the differences are there, and what the differences are, and why the camera is great for its intended use, but why it's not something you may want if you're going to use it in a different way. So make sure you guys go check that out. I think that'll help you with purchasing your next camera.
Yeah, that was a good review, Steven. I watched it the other day, and like you said, it's good. I think a lot of people do get confused about that. So webcams are fairly high quality now.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
there's various reasons that you pointed out in your review why, versus some of the cameras that we're all using here today, and the differences in what the quality differences and what you give, the compromises, basically, what you're going to deal with. So
And one of the things, Marty was given a teaser last week of a camera that was sent to us by the company Lumens, and so we're still spending some time with it. Probably not for another week and a half are we going to have any kind of educational review, but just plugged in, just a little fine tuning. I'm gonna show, at least I can do it on mine. I don't know, Marty, if you're set up, but I'm gonna show a quick difference before we get into the actual show part of this, just to kind of give you guys a little insight as to, if you're looking to buy a camera but you don't have a lot of money, these are some factors that you could kind of take into consideration when purchasing this camera. We're not going to come out and say this camera's better or you should buy this camera. We're going to leave that up to you. We're just going to show you basically, because we think both cameras are great. We're just going to show you kind of the subtleties that we've seen with them and the differences, and let you be the judge on which one you should spend your money on. So that's kind of how we're going to approach that.
Yeah, just I actually hooked mine up today. Got the NDI working, but I still need to do some adjustments on my end. I wanted, like Stephen was mentioning, I want to do a side by side, during one of our live shows and kind of show you what we got going. So.
So Brad just said, is anybody using Discord? Not sure if the link is working. So I am in the Discord chat room. I don't know. Jeremy, are you in the Discord chat room? It looks like you're online in there, so I'm not exactly sure. So I don't know if we'll see what Jeremy responds with. You could either respond, Jeremy, on LinkedIn, 'cause I know you're watching there. Yes, Jeremy is in
I'm
the
in there,
Discord
working.
room, so he says it is working. So, okay, cool. Well, at least we know that. He is in
Yeah,
Discord.
I'm in there. I just posted a message.
Oh, Marty's in there too. Okay.
Yep.
I'm surprised Joe's not in there. Joe's usually like the first one in Discord. He's like, "Hey guys."
I know he's been traveling.
Oh, okay. All right. We got about 3 minutes. You get nervously?
Yes.
He's a
Yes, I
pro.
am.
No, he doesn't get
No,
nervous.
brother. No.
He's a pro. So that's a question. So you can start thinking about this. I'm going to ask you, because you do radio, what do you think is harder? Because I've done radio in the past too, and
Mhm.
I think that's going to be interesting. I think that'll be an interesting answer for some, because I get a lot of people that say, well, if I can do video broadcasting, I can do radio. And anybody that's done radio can tell you, well, that's not necessarily true.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of interested on your response on that. So that's cool, Jeremy. No, that's fine. Yeah, we appreciate everybody joining us. And I know, Jeff, you were saying too, we'll have an extra eye when we get when Sean joins us. So we'll have an extra eye on chat. So that'll be nice.
Yeah, that's I think a great addition to what we're doing, right? And so we're all managing each of these different platforms independently, but with somebody who's dedicated, keeping up on it, especially once we move into this new phase at the new year where we're doing some really cool things, bringing up comments and things in real time. I think she's a great addition. So
Oh, she's a wealth of knowledge too, so that's even going to be even better. So, again, taking this to the next level, right? That's what it's all about. So, all right, 1 minute and counting.
All right. How do I send the link on this Discord?
Um,
I'm in the app on the desktop. Trying to figure out.
I'm in the app as well.
Invite.
I'll be honest, I need to spend more time in this.
Oh, here it is. I got it.
You find it?
Yeah. Oh, Brad needs it.
Hey, Jeremy, if you're still around, if you want to post a link to people that want to join the Discord room, that they can on LinkedIn, that would be fantastic help.
I'll do that in Facebook too.
Okay, so we're right at the 2 o'clock hour here, so I'm gonna kill video and get all situated here, and we're gonna get this party rocking. All right. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of On Social. My name is Stephen Haywood, and I'm here as always with Marty McPadden from Podjam.tv. Welcome.
Hello, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing well, and also we've got the man in his bat cave, Mr.
That's
Jeffrey,
right.
Mr. Jeffrey Fitzgerald. Jeff and HighDef.tv. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it. We're getting into the fall, right? This is our pumpkin spice edition, right?
Yeah, I think Marty was saying something like we need to do. I guess Halloween falls on one of the days the show airs, so Marty was saying he's going to dress up as like the Count or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
right.
Well, like I said, I have an Elvis outfit somewhere. So,
Is
and
that
I've been working on the character part of that too. I've gained weight. I can do this.
is that a threat or a promise?
The Vegas Elvis.
Well, that's exactly right. Elvis 2.0. That's what we want.
So anyway, we're going to have some fun today. We've also got a special guest with us. He was originally supposed to be on 2 weeks ago. We got him on via audio, but now today you get to see him in all his glory. The man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. Lee Kelso from HealthCall.live. Excuse me. Welcome.
That's great. Hey guys, so happy to join you today. And we got in, we were talking about it earlier. One click today, the thing just worked. 2 weeks ago, couldn't get it at all. So the vagaries of technology.
Well, it's hard to say sometimes what's going on, especially when you're dealing with browsers and all kinds of things. Anything's possible. So it could have been an update. But it's great to have you on. I know you've got some questions for us and things, but last week we kind of did a little teaser. Marty showed, I think it was a camera that him and I had gotten, and we're going to do a little teaser today. So he got his set up before I go to his. So what I did was I set it up. It's by a company called Lumen. So you guys know we use PTZ Optics cameras, and one of the things that we want to do to help bring value to you folks is show you some camera reviews, whether it's a webcam, and we just did a webcam review on the PTZ Optics webcam. You can go check that out on the YouTube channel. On my personal one, we didn't get it up on the Wirecast one or the Telestream one yet, but we will get that up. But check that out, as you can kind of see the use case for it. But this is the other camera that is from the company Lumen. So this is another shot that I have set up. And quality-wise, I mean, we're getting similar quality. The colors are a little off, as you guys can see. It looks really dark compared to this. And that's without making any kind of changes. That's just a simple white balancing. So I'm sure I could probably play around with it and get it going. But that's something we're going to do here in the future. We're going to get a review on this, kind of show you the ins and outs and the price difference. There's about $1,000 price difference, guys, between the two cameras. So going to kind of lay that out there. So for what you want, Marty, what has been your initial response to it? You got yours set up. What has been your takeaway so far?
Now, just full disclosure, I'm using the PTZ Optics camera right now as my main camera. It's been my main camera for a while. I do have the Lumens camera. I'm looking at it now, set up right next to it, and I was playing with it today. Got it set up, got the NDI working. So this is something I'm going to test the NDI, hook it up through here, and also test out the PTZ control using that through Wirecast. So that's what I hope to do, maybe as early as next week, depending on what our schedule is and what we can put in the show, or at least the week after, and kind of show a side by side. And Stephen was mentioning the differences in the cameras, and there is a pretty substantial price difference. And the camera I'm using is a first generation PTZ Optics camera. I think you're using a second generation camera. And this is where the fun begins, where we're testing this gear out. And so there's a pretty good price difference. So what I hope to do is show I'm going to set up a side-by-side shot and show the difference, get them balanced out, and then show the control through NDI and kind of explain that. But so far I hooked it right up. What I like about it is it comes with the remote. I'll at least show you the remote if I can dig that up, and right here comes with a nice remote here, and I like the controls because it has, and one of the controls is the zoom control, has actually a fast and slow zoom control. You can pre-program camera positions like you do with the other shots, the other camera. It's got plenty of controls as far as exposure, white balance, saturation, all that stuff. And then obviously the NDI controls and the IP controls. So I'm just starting to dig into that. So yeah, a lot more to come on that, what Steve was mentioning. So yeah, so far so good, but it'll be what I'm looking forward to seeing is what kind of difference there is for the price. So that'll be interesting.
What kind of features that you can get out of it versus the PTZ optics. Now, I do want to stress though, I don't have the colors all dialed in exactly yet. I'm learning what everything it does inside the menu so we can give an honest, good comparison. But it is up. I had it all wired in. Now, unlike Marty, I'm not doing it via NDI. I'm doing it SDI hardwire. It was something that we kind of put together and got it working. And so I haven't gotten there yet, guys. So that's coming. That's coming. So boys, be ready. That's going to be coming. I'm pretty excited about it. So let's kind of dive into this. Lee, tell us a little bit about you and for the folks that are watching, what you're doing in the broadcast space on social media. What are you doing? I heard something about healthcare.
Yeah, so my primary focus right now is two things on a local radio station, and they both involve streaming. So once a week, every Tuesday morning, I do a little 5-minute hit with a local news talk radio station, and I use Wirecast, and we simulcast. So I am streaming live on Facebook at the same time that I'm going live on the radio. And that's kind of interesting because when I'm talking to my radio audience, I'm always kind of subtly cross promoting the live stream at the same time. And so, for example, I'll show you a script in a few seconds here. If I've got a full screen graphic up that has relevant information to the topic, I always make reference to, if you're watching on the live stream, you'll see this. So it's really kind of a fun little balance to try and give the radio audience the full story, but hint to them that over on the live stream, there's more information available. So that's kind of an interesting twist. So I do this little 5-minute health kind of update summary thing. And then through the course of the week, I prepare for a weekend hour-long health-focused talk show. It's a phone-in show on that same radio station. And then I use Wirecast after the fact to put together a recap. So I pull sound bites. I have video cameras in the studio, and I pull sound bites out of the radio show and use Wirecast to put it all together into a short little 2-minute recap of what you missed if you didn't listen to the radio show, and then post that out on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So it's social, it's live on the radio, and live online at the same time. It's really kind of an interesting combo.
So how is that received by your radio audience? I mean, when you're constantly referring to a live stream, like, hey, I'm sorry, you should be watching the live stream to see those pictures or what I'm trying to show. Because, I said to you in pre-show, I had a question for you. A lot of people that do live video think that they can do radio as well. But what they don't realize a lot of times is they have to change how they're speaking, because
Absolutely.
you have to speak in detail rather than just over there. People on the radio are like, what do you mean over there? Like, you can see right here in front of me, and the people on the radio are like, no, we can't.
You're absolutely right. You have to be a lot more descriptive on radio and be very aware that you are painting mental pictures for people. So how you structure your content has to really include visual descriptive terms. Now, as to your question around how am I avoiding what I call anti-disappointment on the radio? Wait a minute, you're not giving me the whole deal here. Don't. I try to be very careful about that and say things like, as you will see, the top 3 ingredients in this product are, and then I list them. And if you want to see everything else, you can look for that graphic on the live stream. So I get the main point across on the radio, but then for those people who have an interest and care to go deeper, I always refer them back to the live stream. And then the other thing that I do is always include links to the research I'm presenting or whatever that is on Facebook. So again, that's a way to drive the radio audience into the social media channel where they can get not only the visual, but then the additional research that I might be presenting that day.
Awesome. And I know it's difficult sometimes to get people out of that incumbent space that they're always used to going to, and try to get them used to new things. I know, Jeff, even you with some of the productions that you're doing, you find that difficult as well?
Oh, it's difficult no matter what you do if you're not intentionally planning what that conversation is going to look like. And radio makes it even more interesting. I've been doing, video for 35 plus years, but I've always thought radio was so much more interesting because just as Lee said, it's a painting of mental vision, right? It's a painting of what you come up with, and every person hears that story differently. And it is definitely a challenge. But, Lee, I know you know this obviously, but even in the world today with radio, I was actually having a meeting with a radio station this morning. Radio is obviously taken notice of the internet and live streaming, and it is obviously becoming more and more a part of what radio looks like. But you have to, at the end of the day, no matter how you're doing it, you have to be able to tell that story in a way that the audience is going to be able to gravitate to and understand and see themselves in it and all those wonderful parts of storytelling. But yeah, Steve, it's a challenge if you're not really focused on it and know what you're trying to do there.
Yeah, and let me dovetail on the back of that, Jeff. One of the things that I've learned is the radio audience is subject to a lot more distraction. They might be in the car, they're on the go, they're doing other things. If somebody is sitting down and watching you on video, chances are they're a little more focused on the screen. But with radio, they're doing whatever. Life is busy, and you are just part of whatever might be happening. So it's important to build into your radio content techniques to draw people back and get their attention. And that's something that's, I guess it just kind of comes with over time. But radio's, yeah, it can be challenging.
That's interesting. Because I see, in radio, everybody's so used to, actual physical advertisements, right? When they're trying to promote stuff, and now you're using social media, right? That's how we do live video. I mean, we're able to go out on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, shoot small videos or pictures of show cards that we're going to put out and say, hey, the show's live tomorrow, go check it out. Or
Right.
today, radio, you don't have that. So you're kind of mixing the elements, and you're talking about, I guess you're doing health awareness, or are you giving tips based on health? I mean, kind of elaborate a little bit on that.
Well, let me use as an example the segment I just did Tuesday morning. I don't position myself as a health expert. Certainly have no formal training in that regard. I call myself a health correspondent. So I go out and I find things that I think are interesting that my audience is going to think is interesting, and then bring them those headlines and the story behind the headlines. For example, my segment Tuesday morning took a look at what some nutritionists had written about meat substitute products. So the Impossible Burger, Burger King's Impossible Whopper thing, what's in that thing? How does it compare to beef? What role should that play if you're trying to limit the amount of meat you eat? That kind of stuff. And I've also covered everything from using mushroom powder in coffee to get a little brain boost, and then covered breaking news stories like the vaping thing. We really kind of were in the lead on the vaping thing because I reported weeks before it really was a bigger story that the problem was people buying adulterated product on the street. It wasn't the flavored stuff you buy in the market, commercially produced. What's causing all these illnesses is adulterated product being bought on the black market. And so so I cover serious topics and then things that are just kind of fun at the same time, but all with a health focus.
So
Yeah, Lee, I thought one of the coolest stories that you had done was the story about dogs that can sniff cancer. So just
Yeah.
in that talks about everything as a producer you want something that's engaging and is really innovative, and at the same time is just unbelievable as a story.
Yeah, so just a second or two on that for detail. There's a company called BioScent DX, and you breathe into a surgical mask for 5 minutes, send it off to them. They put it in front of some specially trained beagles, and they can detect whether or not you may have cancer somewhere in your body. And so what an interesting story, interesting topic. So that has a lot of what I call hey Mabel factors. And what I'm talking about there is, hey Mabel, you won't believe what I heard this morning.
Right.
And so it's got dogs, it's got cancer, and it's got early warning that everybody wants of cancer. So how can you go wrong with that story?
So how has the radio company that you're guesting on, the station, how have they responded to you utilizing live streaming on social media and kind of streaming that portion of the show. How have they responded? Because obviously we're going to take a look at your setup here in a little bit, but you obviously have a professional setup, so obviously they're not worried about your professionalism and how you sound, because audio is important. But how have they responded? Have they been supportive of it, or is it something that they kind of were like, I don't know?
Well, I had the advantage of I was a television news anchor in my hometown here, Fort Wayne, Indiana, for I don't know, better than 20 years, and so kind of had a local sort of reputation, so to speak. So when I went to them and said, "Hey, here's what I want to do," um, they kind of trusted that I was going to be able to pull it off. And from the radio station's programming standpoint, they're all about it because they really didn't have there's a news talk station, so it's a little bit older audience, and they really didn't have anything that was focused on health. And so that was interesting from a programming standpoint. And then from a sales standpoint, we have now been able to get sponsors for these segments that represent new dollars to the radio station because now they have a health related topic. So we have a health food store, some physicians, and some other people who are now advertising with the radio station because there's something that's relevant to their service.
Yeah, that's one thing. And I don't know if you guys agree with this, but this is something that, like, I've always said, and I've talked with companies, and I said, listen, if you can do a live stream, and let's say you only get 30 people to watch, right? Let's say the show like this one is a half hour. We'll use that as an example. It's only a half an hour long, and you reach 30 people, and you're trying to talk about a product with your business. You just reached 30 people in a half hour that you didn't have to spend a half an hour with each of those people doing a meeting and going through the same regimen, if you will, with those people about your product or your service or whatever it is. You're able to reach them through through this medium. And I know the three of us, Marty, I know you're doing this with Verizon and some of the other companies. This is something that these companies have gravitated, like the light bulb went off and said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. If we can save man hours and do live streams or social gatherings, this is a way that we can boost the company and save money and still get those meetings out there, right?
Yeah, just even getting information out there. I'll give an example. One of the things I'm involved with is producing live streams, obviously for clients. And one of the clients I've worked with in the past is a hospital through an agency, is a hospital. And what they've done is they do these interviews on various topics, and some of the topics range from palliative care, hospice, um, uh, autism, that type of stuff, end of life, very heady subjects. And including there was one that we did on, kids using mobile social media and mobile technology and parental controls and things like that. And what's great about that is you're just like what you said, Stephen. You're able to reach so many, a bunch of people at once, and then with the nature of social video, you're able to have that back and forth conversation, whether it's actually during the show and actually take live questions or live comments and actually react in real time. And then in the case of Facebook and some of these other platforms, you're able to go back in and answer those questions after the fact. But well, just like you said, you're reaching people you normally wouldn't reach. The other thing I want to, it's interesting listening to Lee, backing up a little bit about podcasting and the radio business. It's funny because you got podcast, and one of the things I do in my business, I do a lot of podcast producing, a lot on the audio side. And what I've noticed, and Lee's kind of, I'm hearing this from Lee, is radio is kind of going through a renaissance through various couple of means. One, through the method of recorded podcast, where you might do a live show and then turn that around and put it out as a podcast, as a syndicated podcast, where people can actually listen on demand, that same content. And number two, reach whole new audiences by doing live radio on video. The company I used to work for, ESPN, they kind of, well, I'm not sure if they pioneered that, but they do it to this day, where they have the morning shows, and we call it radio on TV, where they'll put Mike and Mike is one of the morning shows. I don't think it's still a show, but for years they did it on ESPN2, and it was just basically they set up one of the studios at ESPN2. They had the big mics and they set it up as, and Lee, you know what I'm talking about, radio
Sure.
on TV. You're reaching a whole new audience, and just like what your background in live television journalism. You're an anchor for many years, and now you're in radio, and now you're already used to doing that video, but you're bringing a whole new audience, whole new, and you're able to bring those people in, and that's the opportunity. And I'm not sure if you've seen this, but I kind of seen this kind of renaissance in radio because of these technologies, podcasting and live streaming.
Yeah, all the segments that we do are available on a podcast, and so I see that the reports on downloads in listenership, and it's growing. And you're right, there are a lot of people. We're an on-demand society today, and so I think all of us who are content creators need to be there. We need to meet people where they are when they're ready for us, right? And
Yeah.
so all of this technology just gives us an opportunity to be that much more available.
Absolutely. So why don't you take us through your setup a little bit about how you're doing it? I know a lot of the folks, they've been waiting to see. They saw a little bit of a teaser. I think it was a couple weeks ago when you sent in that video. So take us through your setup. Show us what you're using, how you're doing it, and maybe that'll give some folks ideas on how they can better their video on social media or the radio if they're doing it for that matter.
Oh, cool. I appreciate the opportunity to do that. So normally when I'm on the air doing my health thing, I have a background that looks exactly like Marty McFadden. So in deference to him today, I changed it. So that's why you saw me across that backdrop. But so I'm in my den. Here's a shot, my over-the-shoulder camera here. This is the den. This is the playroom where when my grandkids come, they're able to join us here. And so I don't have any of the fancy controllers that you're using, Stephen. I just program the keyboard shortcuts, and I'm able to use those. And I have this cool little gadget called a Padcaster. I'll show you here. I don't remember how much it was. I found it on Amazon. I don't know, probably less than $100. But you attach it to a camera, and there's this snazzy little remote that you can use. And if you look right up here, you will see there's the script rolling through my teleprompter. And so that's how I do a 5-minute segment, and managed to sound like I know what I'm talking about. So that's the Padcaster. And then normally when I'm on the air with the radio, I'm using a 2-box scenario. So the guest is over there. Currently the super says an author's name. I just did a video interview with her for the radio. And but normally the radio host, I bring them in using Zoom and put her next to me in the 2-box. So I'm switching between a single shot and the 2-shot, and during that radio segment. I want to share with you, and I have to get that called up here. Give me half a second. Here is my script. Now, what I do is I put into this script, so I send this to the radio station, and I give her, here's a teaser. They do the teaser, take a commercial break, come back. This is the radio host's intro. And then I have highlighted here my cues. So for example, GFX2 references a graphic that I have produced that is relevant to the story. So as you can see, I put in my 2-shot, 1-shot. So even though it's only me sitting here doing this stuff, I don't take any chances on that at all. I need that kind of external cue to kind of keep me going straight. And that technique, I think, is really important. So when you're not only talent, but you're also switching the show, you need all the things you can do to simplify your life. And one of those tools that I use is a service called Canva. I don't know if you guys know about this, but I am absolutely hooked. Yeah, it is, isn't it, Marty? So
Yep.
for example, here's a placeholder graphic that I generate. So this, as I start the stream about 10 to 15 seconds before we go live, and then this holds the screen while I'm there. And as soon as the radio host starts talking, I'm able to pop her out and pop them in. And then I also make full screen graphics that are relevant and to a content. So as you can see, this is about, I was talking about supplements and whether or not they're effective, et cetera, et cetera. And Canva is really easy to use. It's kind of like a little, it's almost like Publisher, but it's so effective, and they have lots of great stock footage out there that you can use. So I use Canva to create all these graphics and Man, it's a free service. I guess you can pay a few bucks here and there if you want to. If you want to pay for some of the graphics, they charge you, I think, $1 for a photo and that kind of stuff. There's a free version. Then there's another version that has a few more features that you can. I think it's $12 a month. But man, for what the capabilities it gives you, I think that's really just outstanding. And I'm using Zoom to send my audio out to the radio station and bring her in. So they have cameras in the studio. I bring her in via Zoom and then send both my signal and hers out to Facebook. And then they just are picking up my audio off Zoom and broadcasting that. So Marty, and I think Jeff, you may have mentioned that you were surprised that the Zoom quality was good enough for them. So far it seems to be, but what else could we be using? What's a higher quality video conferencing service that's going to have a better throughput or better audio quality?
Well, I think Zoom has always had a strong play in terms of its audio quality. I mean, I know people that, back in the days with radio, there was ISDN, and even still today, some people do that kind of thing where you've got hardware decoders and encoders on both sides. I think the bigger question is not necessarily what app may be the right one, but what app will give you the ability to raise that bandwidth up, give you the ability to raise those numbers, because it's really just throughput. And so if you have the ability through Zoom or whatever app you're using to increase that quality, I've watched the shows that you do and they sound great, and there's no noticeable degradation in quality. If you've got really good solid bandwidth at your location and you've got an app that will let you, throttle that where it's according to what you need, then you're home free, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, I'll add it. I mean, like Jeff mentioned, there are ISDN services that you can use. I use one called CleanFeed, and the difference with those services is they're designed for professional use. They have no echo cancellation. You do have to kind of know what you're doing to get the best out of it. But getting back to Zoom, and I think a good analogy here is, Lee, you actually know what you're doing. You maximize that tool, so you're using the right mic technique, the
Right.
like Jeff was mentioning, sufficient bandwidth. You know how it works, and you can get the most out of it. It's almost like I always bring this up, the golfer analogy, where you put Tiger Woods out there with a set of wooden golf clubs versus a guy out there that's a weekend hacker with $2,000 set of golf clubs. He's going to smoke you on the golf clubs every time because he knows how to get the maximum out of his tools. Same thing with you. You can probably almost use anything. Zoom is perfectly good if you got your bandwidth right, if you got your microphone right, and all that stuff. And I've used it in even podcast production with various clients, and when done right, you can get some pretty good results. So the key is the end result. Is it working for you? And then you use that. So there's a million different ways, and you're using, I think, the video portion of it too. So a lot of these
Yeah.
ISDN solutions are just audio only, so that may not be the right solution for you. So
Yeah, I've been using Zoom to do interviews with remote health experts, and that seems to be working pretty well. So those will be guests that I'll bring onto the radio show, the weekend show, the hour-long show, and it's been pretty good. I found that it just seems to be less buggy than Skype. For some reason, Skype and I just don't get along. Has that been anybody else? Is that your experience?
Oh yeah.
yeah, it can be.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Skype's
And
seen better days.
I tried using Rendezvous early on, and I think Telestream's got a little bit of work to do on getting that to be the solution it needs to be.
I think that everything has its purpose, right? Everybody has a way of doing things. So it's great to see and hear from people in the community of what they're using and what they're doing and how they're doing it, and going the places that they're going. So I want to bring up here, because we're going to have to wrap this up, unfortunately. But I want to bring this up. This is, Lee, correct? This is the Padcaster teleprompter
Yeah.
kit, sort of, that you had, right?
Right. So yeah. So yeah, I think for $150 or whatever that is man, it's a fantastic little tool, and you can use a cell phone, or I just found an old tablet I had laying around the house, and it's just been a champ. I've really enjoyed using it.
Yes.
That looks like the secret weapon. I mean, I've got an older teleprompter, and it's, you know, it's big. But now what I've noticed is while I've got this other little place set up, I'm doing all my work really from here, and I'm going to get one of those. I mean, that is a brilliant thing to have, and the quality looks incredible, and it beats ear prompting. So
Well, that's why I was
Yeah.
putting it out there.
Before you wrap it up, quick question in Discord. Jeremy's asking Lee, what mic are you using? What mic?
I have an AKG Perception 120, so that is a USB microphone. Here, let's bring it up into the shot so you can see it. This little guy right here, and it's a fine little microphone. I have been looking around to see if there's an affordable audio compressor that I could put in the chain and kind of do some more with it. But you know what? It seems to be getting the job done. And you know, like all of us, I have found a way to make money doing this. I'm get a talent fee with the radio station for these segments, but I'm always into that profit versus perfection equation, right? Is it required to generate more revenue? At this point, it's not, so it's not a priority for me.
Right. And that's what you got to do. You got to weigh out your pros and cons with all that. But it's nice. It's a nice sounding condenser mic. I think if you did get a compressor or limiter gate on it, I wouldn't go overkill with it. Some people tend to over compress. I don't think I would do that. But DBX makes a good affordable if you're still looking in the market. That was one that I used in the studio before my mixer had it built in. So you could check out DBX. I think it's a 266 XL is the one that they make now. That was the upgrade from my version that I had. But I've always had good luck with DBX mixer or compressor limiter gates. So
cool. I'll check that out. That sounds great.
But
just one last, if you got half a second.
Yep.
Everybody always talks about cameras, and my cameras are certainly not very expensive. I just use this little Vixia HF G20.
Oh, 20.
G20 actually.
I have the G40. That's what it looked like.
It's a, for, I don't know what I paid for this. Steven, are they like $250 now, something like that?
Oh, now, yeah, they're probably even $500. You might be able to get it for.
So I've got 3 of them that I just cart with me everywhere. I use it in my YouTube channel and other stuff. And, I do a little field production, not a great amount, but I use that as opposed to a DSLR because it's got, real solid AC power. I've got a battery pack here that will last 3.5 hours. And it's got a setting that allows me to have clean HDMI out, but still have autofocus, which is kind of nice for these little camcorders. So you don't have, would I love to have something more exciting? Yes. But it doesn't take a lot of money to have a nice signal.
As long as
I think what you're demonstrating for everybody is that when, just as Marty said, when you're Tiger Woods and you understand how this equipment works in synchrony with each other, and a little bit of professionalism in every small area creates a really, really good looking video and audio and all of that. And that's what we're seeing from you today.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. I sure appreciate that.
Well, guys, unfortunately, that half hour has come and gone, and we're going to have to wrap this up. So, Lee, thank you again so much for joining us, and you guys can check him out over at healthcall.live. And when are you airing that? Tuesday mornings on the 5-minute segment, and then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on WOWO, Fort Wayne, Indiana's leading talk radio station, and they do stream online. So if you want to check out Saturday morning at 9, we're going to be talking about a couple of interesting things. If you don't mind me promoting here, we're going to be talking about some practical tips and applications for dealing with Alzheimer's related dementia in your family. If somebody in your family has dementia, how do you manage some of their odd behaviors? And then in the second half hour, we're talking about mindfulness and why everybody is talking about this meditation and mindfulness thing all of a sudden, and how you can learn a little more about using that to reduce stress and manage your life. So that's Saturday morning at 9. Awesome. We want to also thank Mr. Jeff Fitzgerald from jeffandhighdef.tv, and you can follow him pretty much.
Good to be here, bud.
Well, you can follow him pretty much anywhere, right? Jeff and High Def is pretty much the place to be. And also want to thank Mr. Marty McFadden from podjam.tv, and great to always have you on.
Thank you, sir.
And guys, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you go subscribe to the Telestream YouTube channel, as well as follow the Instagram page, as well as like us over on LinkedIn. You can find all these shows. They're uploaded most of the time afterwards, if not the next day, to the Telestream Tube YouTube page. So you can go watch this show in its entirety if you missed it or showed up late. We really appreciate it. We're streaming live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific, I believe that is. And we will see you next time. And we really appreciate everybody tuning in. So have a great week and a great weekend.